She has a big heart, big wings, and a big commitment to restoring the magic to communities. Welcome to the Fairy Godmother Show.
So I want to welcome you, Senator Skoufis. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Delighted, and let me also, I want to thank you for accommodating. I know we were scheduled for 6 o'clock and you were gracious in allowing us to push us back to 7. And I'll tell you why, just so you know, you didn't think it's like something silly that took the place of me being here with you. So literally maybe 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, I got off a Zoom with about, I think it was 5 of my colleagues and Melissa DeRosa from the governor's office, Commissioner Zucker from the Department of Health, Robert Mujica, basically like the stars that you see on your TV set every day that tell us like what's happening. And we got this Zoom with them. We were with them for 2.5 hours to answer our questions about nursing homes and a few other areas that we've been concerned about. And so let me put it this way. They were the warm-up act for you, Aquanetta. And so I'm delighted to be here with you now and everyone else. And hopefully, most importantly, we can answer some questions that people have.
Well, yeah, that was the thing, you know, a lot of people had a lot of different points of views and information, and there were so many questions going back and forth. And one of the things that I'm sort of known for is I hate fake news. It's just like, stop wasting my time with hearsay. Let's get to some facts. And I know that it's a trickle down effect. And so I figured, why not, let's start right at the state level. You are somebody who have pretty much your hands on the pulse of anything that's running around in New York State. So I'm so delighted that we actually have access to you. And I appreciate, again, the fact that you actually would take the time to talk to us. So yeah, we have a bunch of questions. So you ready for them?
Sure, but let me jump in and give some top line information.
Okay. Yeah, sure,
then
go right ahead.
Two questions from there. And so look, you know, I think first, and to set the stage, maybe foremost here, it goes without saying that the vaccine rollout has left much to be desired. I've been pretty vocal and critical at some points, a number of points along the way over the past couple of months, almost 2 months at this point. And look, you know, this isn't about blame. This is about like getting it right. But let's just, you know, talk about sort of what's happened. So the state bears a good deal of this responsibility. The process has been too confusing. The portal has not worked for some people. And look, you've got to have internet if you're a senior citizen. Some people don't know how to reach the portal. And even for providers like Cornerstone and some of our hospitals, you know, they've run into a lot of issues and have had questions with the Department of Health, and they have not been cooperative and communicative to the extent that they need to be. And so there's just been a lot of confusion, and honestly, like it's unacceptable. We all knew that this moment was coming, that vaccines were going to be approved, and you know, it's shocking to me that there wasn't better preparation for it. And so the state bears some of the blame here. I like to think that not all, but some of the problems have been ironed out, and we could talk about, you know, some of the remaining issues. But the fundamental driving problem here, just a matter of supply. Like, we just don't have enough vaccines. And it's not just New York, it's every state, it's every community. And you know, we have 19.5 million people in New York. Right now, 10 million out of 19.5 are eligible to get the vaccine. You know how many shots we're getting on a weekly basis? And this number is higher now than it was over the past 2 months. We have 10 million people eligible out of 19.5 million. And we're getting now, this week, 360,000 vaccines from the federal government. You do the math. That is a lot of weeks until we can get 10 million people the shots that they need. And keep in mind, a lot of those are double doses too, right? Except for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And so the fundamental problem here is we just don't have enough shots. I will say that I thought it was not prudent for the state. I hope there are no 65 to 74-year-olds on this Zoom. I don't think the state should have dropped the eligibility from 75 plus to 65 plus. And I know the CDC had recommended that, and that's why New York State did it. But if we have a line out the door with 75 plus already, and we can't get everybody through that door, why in the world would we drop it to 65 plus when all things else equal, 75 plus are more vulnerable to the virus and getting very sick and potentially dying from the virus? So I thought that was a misstep by the state, but make no mistake, like the big problem here, we don't have enough vaccines. The good news is that over just the past week or so, the federal government has upped our weekly delivery by 21%. First it was 15%, then we got an additional 6% added, announced today. So 21% more than we were getting over the first month and a half or so. And we expect that number will continue to climb. Once Johnson & Johnson gets its approvals and that's on the market in the next number of weeks, we're not talking months, we're talking weeks, that's gonna be a game changer. That's a single dose shot, and it's just a lot more vaccines generally. So I think, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel will accelerate closer to us in the coming weeks and months, but it's been a very slow go, and it's been very frustrating for a lot of people. And I've been doing this work for 9 years. It's my third year in the Senate, I'm starting, and before that I was 6 years in the Assembly. And there are really two moments over 9 years, two events over 9 years, where I can tell you my office has just been crushed with people calling with concerns and issues and frustration. Certainly we get lots of calls all the time on a variety of different issues. But the two events I'm talking about were last year in March, April, May, June, and we still get some now, unemployment. We helped over 5,000 people in our district with unemployment problems. They couldn't even get calls back from the Department of Labor. And trust me, those 5,000 people, they don't just call you once. They call you 4 times, they email you 3 times, they Facebook message you 4 times. And so my staff and I'm proud of my team and the work that they did, but we're seeing something similar now with the vaccines, where there's just an avalanche of people who are fed up and upset and frustrated. And so I get it. Aquanetta, I mean, you have a pulse, your finger on the pulse of the community in Newburgh as much as anybody. And you know, I just want to reinforce to everybody what you said. I am hearing it. So trust me, like you think, you know, you're upset, and do I understand what's going on? Do I get it? I get it, because we're getting an avalanche of people who are letting us know what's going on. So let me talk about a couple of other things. Some more good news. Starting this Friday, CVS and Walgreens are going to be administering vaccines. And so this is sort of a new frontier in terms of access, and hopefully, you know, getting people, you know, again, fundamentally more shots into arms. You know, this is an important one, and that starts on Friday. It is by appointment only, and you know, you should go to the CVS or Walgreens websites and try and secure an appointment. It's not going to be easy, just like it's not easy getting an appointment right now through the county or through the state. That's at least one additional or a couple of additional avenues that are going to open up on Friday. Starting on February 15th, the 10 million number is going to increase, because starting February 15th, the vaccine eligibility extends to New Yorkers with comorbidity, underlying conditions, and you know, that includes cancer, that includes heart conditions, diabetes. It also extends to intellectual disabilities, people with disabilities. And so more people are going to be eligible. That's good in the sense that they can be eligible and hopefully get a vaccine soon. It's makes this more challenging though, because again, you know, that 10 million number is going to increase, and we only have a sliver of shots available for all those people each week. And the last thing I'll mention before I turn it back over to you and try and answer whatever questions that people have is there are an increasing number of vaccine scams that are floating around. and, leave any crisis to bad actors to take advantage of. This one is no exception. And if you become aware of any vaccine scams, it's important to not just sort of hang up the phone on those people or disregard the scam, but you need to report it so that we can find out who it is and shut them down and hold them accountable. And the easiest way is you can send an email. It's stopvax, V-A-X, fraud at health.ny.gov. And I'll also put it in the chat. And there's also a phone number that I'll put in the chat as well. So please, if you do find out about one of these scams, do report it so that we can take some action. With that, happy to answer questions that people have and talk about what you want to talk about instead of me just blabbering on.
Well, actually, this is why I love having you be a part of my stage, is because that's less I've got to figure out what to talk about, and because you are so good at really just holding the attention of an audience with some really great information. With that though, yes, we do have a list of questions, but you did cover a lot of the stuff. So if it sounds like I'm being a little redundant, if I'm going to ask the questions that you've already answered, please bear with me, and we'll just, I don't think we probably should skip over it, because good information is good information. And you really gave out some great stuff. Also too, I'm thinking that most people who are here with us today actually know that you yourself had COVID. And so that's why, that was yet another one of the reasons why I decided, like, if anybody would know what's going on with this, you definitely would, because you've experienced this firsthand. Do you want to talk about that for just a moment?
Yeah, I just want to say one or two things on that. And so, look, I had the virus back in April, and I'm a big believer in promoting public health, and I took every safeguard imaginable, and I still caught the virus. Wore N95 or surgical masks everywhere when I was anywhere near other people. Washed hands constantly, and I still caught it. And so, I was sick as a dog for 12. I had 103 fever for 12 days. And I'm 33 years old. I have no underlying health problems. I'm relatively in shape, and I was wiped out for just about 2 full weeks. I could barely get out of bed, with the exception of shuffling around the corner to get to the bathroom a few times a day. I had terrible shaking chills. I'd wake up every morning in a pool of sweat. Maybe that's too much information, but really just it was an absolutely miserable go about it. And like I said, I'm a relatively young, healthy person. And so the point I'm trying to make here is, this is no joke. And we need to be careful. And there are still I think sometimes maybe we've grown a little bit numb to this because it's been going on for so long. It's been going on for, about 11 months now. But there are literally thousands of people in this country dying every single day from COVID still. This is not something where we're down to dozens or even hundreds of people dying from COVID daily. It's thousands of people. And yes, it's not as bad in New York as it was back in March and April and May, but it's still pretty bad. And we need to continue to be careful until enough people get the vaccine and are protected. And what I want to just reinforce here is it really is terrible to get sick with this. And if you are older or you have health issues, you can be in the hospital pretty quick and be in real serious trouble. And so when people question, oh, should I get the vaccine? Is it worth it? I hear some people get, mild fevers. And yes, like sometimes there's a little bit of arm pain. Some people do get a little bit of a mild fever as a side effect, but that pales in comparison to how terrible this virus is if you catch it and become symptomatic. And so the vaccine is safe, and people need to have faith and trust in science. The regulators, the scientists have approved this vaccine for a reason. And it's not just United States scientists, it's the world scientists. All these countries have their own agencies that approve these vaccines, and they all have done that. So, we need to have faith in science and just tell ourselves that even if you're young, even if you're healthy, even if you're highly unlikely to die, if you do catch the virus, you still want to get the shot, because getting sick is terrible.
Well, I was holding my breath that whole like, oh God.
But I'm fine now, thank God. And so, like, I don't have any lingering side effects or lasting effects, thank God. And so I'm happy to be healthy. But if you can avoid it, avoid it.
Wonderful, good. We're actually we're happy to hear that.
Thank you for joining us. We can't wait to see you next time right here on the Ferry Godmother Show, where we are restoring the magic to life and play.